It's funny because Frank brings up, the Canadians are always polite and they always say and do the right things, and for the most part, it's absolutely true. I thought one of the, crazy stories in this was from, Virtue and Moir, the two Canadians who, of course, are from London, Ontario, and got silver, and, they were a little skeptical with some of the judging. They had, skated a perfect, really flawlessly, and then watched the Americans get gold, and then afterwards even, took some shots at their coaches who they felt like were spending too much time with the Americans because, of course, the coach coaches them as well. And you know what? I thought it was actually, I'm one of the few people I think that actually was happy that Virtue and Moir didn't hold back and were actually able to say what they felt and, didn't do the politically correct thing and say, oh, it's okay, we're happy with silver. You could see the disappointment that they had, and, I was fine with that. I don't think Canadians always have to be so polite and always say and do the right things. If you feel like you're getting the short end of the stick, I like it when they tell it the way they see it.
Well, they definitely got the short end of the stick. I'm not a figure skater, and I do not profess to be an expert in figure skating. But I watched them, and I thought their program was spectacular, and based on the experts that are commentating, right? And Kurt Browning is very blunt. Whether he's critiquing Canada, the Russians, he tells it like it is. And if whether it's the Russians or the Chinese or the Japanese and the Americans, and they're doing great, he's going to say they did spectacular. And he thought that I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but from what I heard and what I got out of it, he thought that they got robbed. And I don't buy into the conspiracy theory, but shit happens. And I'm going to take your side on this one, Mr. Cohen. I believe they used a lot of decorum at a level of huge emotion that I don't think I could have been able to hold back.
No, and I like the fact they didn't hold back. And, we'll always have that issue in the Olympics with judging. I mean, especially with things like skating where, the judging is very subjective. It can be a real issue. And I commend them for going and basically not just taking it and actually, stating how they felt and really throwing their own coach under the bus, too. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, but you know what I don't understand, and then Billy, you could jump in. How you got a coach, and he's coaching two rivals.
Yep.
Two rivals. How does that work? That's a conflict of interest. I really don't fucking get it. I don't understand. Maybe I'm a moron. How is...
It's not the coach's problem, Frank. That's the participant's problem.
Conflict of interest?
The problem with that, they should resolve it before the results are out. And they had Brian Orser coaching last week, the young Japanese kid, against our Chan. And Chan had already fired Orser. I mean, Orser would have been coaching both of those.
But I don't get it. How can you be subjective as a coach when you're coaching two people?
Well, that's the question you ask the coach. Answer isn't good.
The coach of the Montreal Canadiens and the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs at the same time during a game?
That was Virtue and Moir's problem. And they said that they addressed it before the Olympics. They said they went to their coach and they felt like they weren't getting the attention that they needed, and it never was addressed properly by the coach. And in that case, I guess you have to fire the coach.
Yeah, and well, particularly if he has convinced them that this is not going to be a conflict, because you only have a conflict if you admit you have a conflict. And if you can convince your...
Billy, let me give you the same analogy. If the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing the Montreal Canadiens in a hockey game, can they have a same coach for both teams?
No, that's a bad example, Frank, because the answer is obvious.
It's the same thing. These guys are fighting for a medal. It's two different countries, and you're coaching both of them. I think that's a massive conflict of interest, and I think the analogy is bang on.
Yeah, I think Virtue and Moir would agree with you, Frank, and I think that's how they feel right now.
But I don't understand how a coach can be neutral and in between when he's teaching them both and they're going after the same cherry.
Frank, it's called money.
M-O-N-E-Y.
Money. They pay the coach, and the coach can't afford not to have both of them, and he convinces them that the conflict is merely an illusion of their mind. And really, it would have been, had the London pair been first, then they would have forgotten all about it. But their timing was bad.
Let me ask you.
Resolved that before.
Okay, Billy. Okay, fair point. So, Bill, would you, if they were your team, would you have a coach them that's coaching an opposing enemy, a competitor, or would you get a coach completely for that team? Because it's pretty common from what I see now that there's teams from different countries that have the same coach.
I would like to get the best coach available that would do the best for me and for my family if, in fact, I was involved in selecting a coach. I would find out what his background was, and I would address the apparent conflict right away. And if I didn't feel comfortable with it, he would be off the list. That's
so, Bill, do you disagree with Virtue and Moir saying what they said about their coach once the games were done?
I think their timing was bad.
Okay.
They might be right, and they might feel that way.
But hear me out. Listen, I'm a Canadian, and I'm on their side, and I thought they should have won. But hear me out. I want to be the devil's advocate, and both you guys are very bright guys. Listen to my logic. It's over. The American team wins gold. The Canadian team wins silver. How does the coach split himself as two people? Who does he hang around with? So logically, and hear me out, don't jump below me, he's going to hang around with the team that won the gold medal. That's who he's going to hang around with because they won the gold medal.
Hey, the coach has to be thrilled. His pair won the gold and the silver.
I understand, but he's going to hang around with the guys who won the big thing, the gold medal. Everybody wants the gold medal. I know it's great, and people are happy if they win a medal in the Olympics, but it's the gold medal. It's the Holy Grail. It's the Stanley Cup. It's the gold medal. Would anybody in Canada be happy if we won bronze in hockey? No.
No.
Would anybody be happy if we won silver in hockey?
Not right now, no.
No, but it's gold. So what I'm saying to you, as the devil's advocate, his team won gold. So he's going to party and get all the accolades and do all the press shit and all the PR stuff, right? Because he's a business within himself, right? He's a brand. He's a coach. And the more gold medals he wins, the more he's going to charge. Yes or no? Isn't that about money, too? Really?
Well, Frank, we're going around in circles because there are only certain sports where people are so infatuated with their brilliance that they would hire a coach who is coaching one of their closest competitors.
Yeah.
And they did it. They got what they deserved. They were confused in the end because they thought the results were reflective of poor coaching. That is not the case.
I don't know. I think Moir and Virtue probably thought they couldn't have skated much better. I think they were more initially upset with the judging, and then afterwards, while they're angry, it's sort of a trickle-down effect that they're going to now express their anger with how the whole thing went down, because this was sort of brewing inside of both of them for a long time. You get the sense that wasn't something new. This was something they wanted to address. It wasn't addressed. And that's why I think you heard them say what they said. But, you're right, Bill. They put themselves in that situation. I mean, as a coach, this coach couldn't have done any better. Represents two teams. One wins gold, one wins silver. He can't do any better. It's a matter of who wins gold and who wins silver. And for Virtue and Moir, it was the wrong pair.
Yeah, and the coach is getting a fee from both. I'm sure he has a bonus set up from both. And so he did very well here, and he couldn't have done any better.
Nope.
I think at the end of the day, Virtue and Moir recognized that only one of the coach's two pairs was going to win gold.
That's right.
They should have made sure that it was them. And they didn't. But they did very well. I don't mean to criticize Virtue and Moir, but they should have done, if they're so upset, that thing should have been resolved 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with Eric. They believe that they skated the best they've ever skated in their life. They believe it was a gold medal skate, and you could see the expression on his face on our monitor. If you guys are watching it at home on your computers, they thought that was their ace skate, and they feel that they got ripped off in their, because everybody judges, right? They judged their performance, and they didn't concur with the judges' score versus the performance of the Americans. It is what it is. Let's move on.